Hello, welcome to Reso Coder. In this second part of the tutorial, you're going to learn how to connect the back-end inventory script to UI by creating a front-end script. Let's get started. What we've just written here, this inventory script, is really good, but it doesn't deal with the user interface. This is just like the back-end stuff. We also have to write code that's going to communicate with the UI, with all those buttons, and that's actually going to give some output to the user, so he will actually know whether or not he bought an item or if he selected the item. So we'll need to create another script. Also, we can move this inventory script to our manager game object. So we'll create another C# script. It's going to be called shop manager script. I know, really generic, but whatever. Shop manager script. We're going to open it in Visual Studio, remove this crap, all right. And we have buttons over here. We want to keep track of these buttons inside this script, so we will make a private transform array named shop buttons. All right, and because it's private, it's not going to be accessible from Unity editor by default, right? When we drag it here, you don't see any array here. So what we have to write is serialize field attribute. Serialize field. And now if you look at the Unity editor, you should have the shop buttons. And the size of this array is going to be 5 because we have 5 buttons, and we're going to drag all of these buttons in here. Nice. 3 and 4. All right, that's done. Now we will need to keep track of the text of these two texts, coins and selected. So public text coins txt. Not text alignment. Oh yeah, I need to using Unity engine .ui. And now we can write public text coins txt and also public text selected item txt. Cool. Then we also want to change the color of these buttons. So, for example, if this second thing is going to be selected, this button is going to turn green. So we need to have some colors that are going to be assigned to these buttons. So we need to have public color selected color, and also non-selected color. All right. And for ease of use, we will need to keep track of the previously selected index. Private int previously selected index. All right. In the void start, private void start, we will write a for loop that's going to go through all the shop buttons inside this shop buttons transform array. And this is the reason, actually, why we... Oh, what's going on? All right. This is the reason why we didn't use the method start in our inventory script, but we rather used the method awake, because awake is always called before start. And in this shop manager start method, we are actually going to be using this items list. We're going to be using this. And when this is in awake, we can be sure that it's already going to be initialized and set when we want to use it from our shop manager script in the start method. So for int I equals 0, I is less than shop buttons dot length I plus plus. And what we want to do in this for loop is that we actually, if you look closely, you can see that we don't have any meaningful text on these buttons, right? However, we have names for these individual shop items here, like knife and rifle, bazooka, and many more names, right? So we actually want to programmatically assign those names to the text components or to the child game objects and to their text components. So in order to do that, we need to access individual transforms in this array, in this shop buttons array. So shop buttons index I dot get child, index is 0 because the first child is on the index of 0, and there is actually only one child on this game object button, and we want to get component from that child of type text. Type text. We want to access the text property. Alright, text property, and we're going to set it to be equal to inventory dot items index of I dot name. So that saves us a lot of hassle, and actually if you later on wanted to change some names, you could do that really easily. Just change names in this JSON string, and the changes are going to be reflected inside this for loop, which is in turn going to change the names or the text on these buttons. So it's all really simple. You don't have to change anything manually, or you have to change something manually, but at least you don't need to change it twice or maybe even 3 times. So it saves you a lot of hassle. All right. Now we actually need to have a method that's going to communicate directly with these buttons here. And it's going to choose whether or not we actually want to buy an item, or if that item is already bought, we don't need to buy it anymore, we just need to select it when the button is clicked. So public void buy or select item, and it's going to accept an argument of type int named index. And now, if it's already bought, so if inventory, I really cannot write today, I apologize guys, items on the index of index dot bought, so if it is already bought, we want to select it. So select it, so inventory dot instance, and that's where we are using this instance property from the inventory script. So instance dot select item index. Cool. Then if it's not bought, then we have to buy it. So else inventory.instance .buy item. And again, the index is going to be index. All right. But now, that's really cool what we've done here, but it's still not going to reflect any changes that we do in this code. It's not going to give an output to the user, right? We aren't changing any colors, we aren't changing any text, except of this text that is on the buttons, but we aren't changing these two text objects. So that's really a bummer. So what can we do about it? Well, actually, we will write a helper method, because it's going to get called quite extensively in this script. So helper method is going to be called update UI, and it's going to be private void update UI. And we also have to supply it with index. Cool. And what this is going to do is that the coins text is going to be equal to coins plus, so concatenate the string, so plus inventory dot coins dot toString. All right, so we again look closely. We again used the back-end inventory script inside our front-end shop manager script. And then we also want to change the selected item txt, the text property of this, to be equal to inventory items. So that's the list of all the items. And the index is going to be inventory.selected item index. And we want to assign name to this field, to this text field. Then we want to reflect the change that an item has been unselected as turning the color of the button back to white. So what we will do in this script is going to be shop buttons. So we access a button inside our array, and we want to get component of the button, and the component will be of type image, and the color of the image is going to be set to non-selected color, because the previously selected, not index, but previously selected index, I'm sorry, because the previously selected item is now going to be unselected, right? So we want to assign a color to the image, and the color will be non-selected color. And we will select, but we will select an item, and when we select an item, we want to reflect that change as changing the button color to greenish. So inventory.selected item index, and the color of this will be set to selected color. Cool. And we also want to set the previously selected index to the currently selected index, because next time when you choose another item from the shop, you will unselect the previously selected and select the now selected. Cool. So previously selected index equals inventory dot selected item index. All right.
And also now we need to call this method update UI. We need to call it in the start, because when we start the game, it's all going to be white. Yeah, all the buttons are going to be white, and we have to update those buttons at the start. So update UI, and the index that's going to be passed in there is going to be the inventory dot selected item index. So that's the index that's selected when the game starts. We will also want to call the update UI method from here, from this if statement. So update and index, and the same is going to be done in the else clause. So update UI index. And that should be it. We should now have the shop actually implemented. We will only make some last changes. So for example, we need to set the selected color to be some greenish color. For example, this, right? Cool. Then the non-selected color is going to be pure white. We'll also need to assign a text to this field and also to this field. So now that we have that, we should be able to run the game and hope for the best. Wow! As you can see, when I stop playing the game, it all changes to plain buttons with the text of buttons and nothing is green. But when I start the game, the first button turns green because that's selected and bought by default. We have 5,000 coins, just as we should have, and the selected item is knife. Makes sense. When I buy rifle, which should cost 800 coins, I think. Oh, it's not working. And I know why. I know why it's not working. Because we haven't set up the on-click event here. So we have to add to the list manager. The function is going to be shop manager script, and the method is, where is it? Buy or select item 0. Now we will copy component and paste the component values and change the argument value here. Alright, so now that that little embarrassment is out of the way, we can try again to run the game and hope that this time it's actually going to work. So we have 5,000 coins. We try to buy a rifle. So we click the rifle. Oh, it actually costs 500. And it gets automatically selected. This text changes. We want to go back to knife. The coins balance should not change because it's already bought. So go back to knife. Alright. That works. Then we want to select rifle, and it should persist. Even the changes should persist even if we quit playing the game. So quit playing and start playing, and we should be selected. We should have the rifle selected, and yeah, it works. We can buy bazooka for 1,000. We can buy, right, and we can stop playing. We can start playing, and we have selected bazooka. We have the same amount of coins, and everything is cool.
If you want to get the code that's been written in this tutorial, you can do so by clicking on the link in the video description. I hope that this video helped you with creating your awesome projects. If it did, don't forget to give this video a like and also share it with someone who might benefit as well from this tutorial. Also, if you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more videos like this, and see you in the next video.